I was self-quarantining about 8 months prior to the majority of people here in the United States because I had skin cancer and I had fairly major reconstructive surgery that required taking skin from my forehead and pulling it down to my nose, and I had to stay like that for a month. My wife, who normally thinks I'm a pretty handsome guy, she said that my nose looked like it had been split open with an axe. And it got to the point for that during that month where it was all I could think about and it was all I could see. I started having panic attacks. Deuteronomy 28:28 is a passage from the Hebrew Bible, what many Christians call the Old Testament, and it talks about what God will do to you when you break the terms of relationship with God. God can send madness, blindness, and panic. I was panicking. And this wasn't even the first bad thing that had happened to us. This was the last in a series of horrible things that had transpired, and that began when I started seeing things differently. There would have been a time where I would affirm what the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, Eastern Orthodox Church, and many Protestant churches claim today, which is that God loves everybody, gay and straight, but that homosexual sex acts are sinful. So a person in an LGBTQ relationship could not be they couldn't be married in the church and they couldn't be in leadership in the church. That way of saying no longer worked for me. It was as if I was wearing my wife's glasses. When I put on these frames, everything gets super blurry. So blurry, in fact, that even having them on for a couple of seconds like this makes me feel dizzy. So I changed the way I was seeing. And the change was so profound that I decided to start a Christian community here in Fort Worth, Texas, called the Ark, a church for all people and a mission with all creation that would be LGBTQ affirming. We had a vision casting night where we brought various friends together to talk about this mission. And a week later, one of our dear friends, a person who was going to be in church leadership with us, but someone who had been going through an extremely dark period in their life, she took her life. She died by suicide. 2.5 weeks after that, my mother-in-law died unexpectedly at the age of 62. And then a couple of months later, I was diagnosed with skin cancer. I received a Facebook message from a concerned friend. It was a person I hadn't talked to maybe in 20 years, but she was concerned because she wasn't sure what I was teaching. And she said, if you are teaching that LGBTQ people can be in relationship with God and that their sexuality is not sinful, then you are potentially leading people to an eternal conscious torment. You're leading them to hell. Jesus was walking along with some disciples, and the disciples saw a man who was born blind from birth. And they said to Jesus, who sinned here? Was it the man or was it the man's parents? And Jesus said, neither of them sinned. This man was born blind so that the works of God could be revealed in him. And then Jesus healed the man. After healing him, he said, go to a pool called Sent, wash, and come back. The man does that, and when he comes back, he causes confusion. So the text says a lot of his neighbors had seen him as the blind beggar, and now he's back with vision. And they're confused. Some say, that looks like the guy. Others are like, no, can't be the guy. And they go and ask him, are you the guy who's blind? He says, yes. They're like, what happened? He says, a man named Jesus healed me. Where is he? I don't know. So they bring the man to some religious scholars who have already heard about Jesus. Many of them have concerns about Jesus, that he's breaking religious and social taboos. Presented with this man who was previously blind and now sees after an interaction with Jesus, some of these religious scholars say, this Jesus must be from God. How could he perform the works of God if he's not from God? But other religious scholars say, no way. This guy's breaking religious and social taboos left and right. There's no way this guy is from God. So they ask the man, and the man says, I don't know. I was blind, now I see. Who is he? They ask. He says, a prophet. So then the religious scholars turn to his parents. And they ask his parents, was this guy really born blind? And they say, yes. What happened to him? And they say, we don't know. We can't affirm. He was blind, now he sees. And there's an editorial note. So this story comes from the Gospel of John. It's chapter 9, verses 1 to 41. John adds this editorial note that the parents were scared of getting kicked out of the synagogue. Synagogue is, in Greek, means come together. It was a meeting place, a social and religious meeting place. They were scared of getting kicked out. So now the religious scholars turn back to the man born blind, and they start interrogating him further, asking more and more questions. And as they're interrogating him, he develops a confidence. This guy who had known shame most of his life, who is assumed to be a sinner, is now speaking confidence with these religious scholars. We might use the language of trash talking or offering a sick burn, because he asked the religious scholars, why are you so interested in this guy? Do you want to follow him as well? And this obviously makes them incensed, the idea that they would follow Jesus, who they're sure is in cahoots with the devil. And then this guy says what he thinks. He finally says, look, there's no way, if this guy, Jesus, is doing the works of God, he must be with God. He can't be against God. And they are further incensed. They can't believe this. They say, you were born in sin. Remember this idea that disability was a product of sin in some way. You were born in sin and you're going to lecture us about the truth? They kick him out. What his parents feared happened. They kicked him out of the synagogue. My friend Kenny, 18 years of age, was at a Bible college, and the administrators at the Bible college found gay porn on one of the computers. So they rounded up various people who had access to that computer to interrogate them. And Kenny was one of the people with access to that computer. In the process of the questioning, Kenny revealed that he had same-sex attraction. But he clarified that he was not the one who had been looking at gay porn on the computer. But when they heard that he was gay, they said, we can't trust anything you say now. So they kicked him out of Bible college. Kenny, when he got back to his hometown, met with his pastor and explained honestly that he had same-sex attraction. And the pastor said, here's what we are going to do. You're going to come and meet with me every day for 7 days. And then you're going to fast and pray for 7 days. And we're going to continue this process until God changes your feelings. And Kenny did this for months. And then one day when he was asking God to change him, to make him straight, to take these gay feelings away, he felt like God said, why? And Kenny was honest in his next meeting with his pastor about that interaction, about that prayer, that he felt like God was saying, basically, I made you like this. The next Sunday service, the pastor asked Kenny to stand up in the middle of the service. And he said, Kenny has decided to live an unrepentant homosexual life. We will now ritually shun him. And he invited the congregation to turn their backs on Kenny as he was ushered out of the church. He was kicked out of the church like the man formerly born blind. Kenny went into a tailspin of alcohol and drug problems. And then he got an invitation to move to Arizona. And he remembered this footnote in a book that he had read about gay Christians. So he decided to move to Arizona, and he looked up a gay Christian church. And he was surprised to find a church from his denomination that was gay affirming. And he went to the church service, and the first song that they sang in that service was this. It was talking about seeing. And here are the words. Father, I love you. My heart is filled with the desire to see your power and glory. Why was this man born blind? They asked Jesus. Jesus said, to reveal the works of God. Father, I love you. My heart is filled with the desire to see your power and glory. And then they came to the chorus of the song. Think about this. A man who had been kicked out of Bible college. A man who had been kicked out of his church. All he knew was shame. And the chorus of the first song that he sings in an affirming context is this. I lift up my hands, standing ashamed. Jesus goes searching for the man formerly blind who's been kicked out of the synagogue, and the man ends up believing in Jesus. And then what does he do? He worships Jesus, it says. Kenny worshiped Jesus after being excluded. Kenny is now Bishop Kenny, presiding Bishop Kenny of the Convergent Christian Communion, which is the church network that our church belongs to. In fact, Bishop Kenny ordained me into ministry. The excluded is someone who now includes. Bishop Kenny was born gay so that the works of God could be revealed in him. Think about the various questions that have come up as we have gone over these stories. We have who questions, questions of identity. The disciples saw this man born blind and said, sinner, right? Others said beggar. They had various labels for the who. The who, Jesus says in the Gospels, who are you? You are the light of the world. So there's your answer about who. At one point they asked the man formerly born blind, where is Jesus? What's your where? Where are you right now? You are in a very difficult moment. We are in a difficult moment in this global pandemic. Why? So that the works of God may be revealed in us. The works of God are revealed in you in ways you might not be thinking about. The ways that you made that joke that relieved the stress of that friend, that friend who really needed to hear something funny and they laughed. The works of God were revealed in you through that. The way that you're caring for that elderly person. You're going for groceries for that vulnerable person who can't go themselves right now. The works of God are revealed in you when you do that. The works of God are revealed in you. You are the light of the world. We can have confidence in that. It doesn't matter what labels people throw on us right now. Who are we? We're the light of the world. Where are we? We're in a difficult present moment. Why? So that the works of God can be revealed in us. We're the light of the world, bitches. Let's shine.